Thank you, Shenna and Ron. I'm hearing common themes about the perfect partnership of SASE and SD-WAN, and also the importance of standardization for accelerating market growth and building customer confidence in SASE solutions. Now, as we wrap up two thought-provoking points of view from leaders at Bell Canada and Comcast Business, both MEF 3.0 certified providers, we now turn our attention to the analysts. After all, a journey along the edge requires that someone check the road conditions. And here to do just that is today's dynamic duo. That's right, it's Ron Westfall, Senior Analyst and Research Director, Futurum, and Mauricio Sanchez, Research Director, Network Security and Data Center at Dell'Oro. Let's hear their take on this emerging, well-hyped SASE market.
Good day and good morning, everyone. I'm Ron Westfall, and I'm here with my distinguished colleague, Mauricio Sanchez. And I believe it's important to talk about SASE and what the market is implicating for the entire industry. And as a good starting point, I think it's best to understand what does SASE stand for. And it stands for Security Access Service Edge. The term was first developed by Gartner back in the summer of 2019. And when I first saw the term, I thought it was SASE. In other words, yet another acronym for our industry to deal with. It sounded like an academic fraternity. However, I have to say, I was very relieved to find out in short order that the acronym is pronounced SASE. And I think this gives the technology an extra marketing flair that audiences warm up to, that people like to discuss. It's fun. It's interesting. In other words, SASE is not as dry as, say, as talking about MPLS. And on that note, I think it's now important to establish why SASE is so important to our industry. And that is because fundamentally, SASE combines network connectivity and security functions with subscriber policies to meet the highest levels of performance and assurances acquired by today's enterprises. In fact, not only is SASE meeting these new demands that the enterprises are imposing on the suppliers in the ecosystem, it's also enabling service providers to come up with a new service that can enable profitability and also help them through the profit per bit squeeze that they've been experiencing over the last few years. And now with that said, we also have to understand what is it about SASE that is not only generating this interest, but what are some concerns or barriers that could be associated with SASE? And on that point, I'd like to turn to Mauricio to get his perspective on, are there concerns about SASE? Is it being overhyped in the market today?
Thanks, Ron. I've been in the industry 20 years, and I guess I'm always a little bit skeptical whenever a new acronym shows up, right? I love your analogy to MPLS. I don't know about you, but I lived through the 2000s when network access control was all the rage. So for when I first heard SASE, I thought, oh my gosh, we're back to where we were 10, 15 years ago. And I know that eventually some people were calling NAC as whack. Because it just people were trying to deploy it, and it didn't work out the way that the expectations painted it at the beginning. And I think SASE, we just got to be careful that because it's a shiny chrome right now, and that we set the right expectations. However, the pain points that people are facing today are real ones when it comes for network connectivity, as well as from a security perspective, and it's all been accelerated because of the pandemic, because you and I here are working from home. And so now your entire workforce has been distributed throughout the landscape, throughout the world, frankly. And so the pain points that now were already existing prior to the pandemic have only become more acute. So when you start thinking about the new technologies that are coming together in the shape of SASE, there is an opportunity for it to make an impact to solve the problems that people are facing today. Again, it's a network connectivity problem, which gets into network transformation. It's a data protection and security problem that gets into how do you make sure that data keeps within the confines of the logical enterprise boundary. But at the same time, as we get through this, we have to make sure we have a realistic perspective and make sure the expectations that we place are the right ones, because last thing we want, like I said, is getting back to where we were 15 years ago when network access control was all the rage, and then people really started turning cynical and saying things like "knack is whack."
Very excellent points. And I think we do have to pay attention to the hype cycle aspect here of SASE. From my perspective, I think SASE has a firm foundation, and that will have an enduring, lasting influence across the industry. And that it begs the question, why is that? I think, first of all, that SASE is enabling a shift to user-centric security. So we're getting away from a device-centric security approach and enabling, again, organizations in the ecosystem to take a more holistic approach to security. And this is quite simply going to be essential, particularly in the cloud era, when we're looking at hybrid cloud and multi-cloud implementations and all the challenges that entails. In addition, I think the standards aspect is very important to look at. Already, SASE has standards backing. The MEF has been very diligent about making SASE a more accepted technology across the ecosystem. For example, MEF has already established the SASE Services Definition Project, also known as MEF W117, to enable this. And I view the MEF as having the pedigree to really advance SASE, because we've already seen it perform this same effort with technologies such as optical transport, such as carrier Ethernet, and naturally SD-WAN. So this is definitely encouraging. Another aspect about the standards is that we've seen technologies such as NFV, I believe, not gaining broader support because of fragmented standard support and the lack of a robust interoperability regime. So right away, we're seeing SASE avoid that type of mistake. In addition, I think it's also important to note that SASE really is an extension, a logical evolution of existing technologies. We're not establishing a brand new technology that requires some heavy lifting and forklifting in order to adopt. Again, it's blending the technologies that you pointed out, Mauricio, and it's avoiding, say, the theological debates of the past, say IP Ethernet versus ATM and frame relay. We saw how that turned out, and it did not turn out favorably for ATM or frame relay, partly because IP Ethernet had that robust standards backing. And so at this point, I think it's important now to take a look at SASE, it's the market, and what is its market size and market potential. And for that, naturally, I turn to you, Mauricio, to share some very important data points in that regard.
Thanks, Rod. Yes, we love our numbers here at Dell'Oro. And so we've been tracking a number of markets that, as you pointed out, Ron, are SASE is not necessarily a completely new basket of technologies. It's really a transformation of various markets that are coming together and benefit of being able to service the secure connectivity needs of the modern enterprise. So in my analysis, what I looked at is that how is an architecture SASE getting deployed? What's a technology basket that it's pulling from? And I identified three. So you've got SD-WAN technologies, which presumably are still somewhat a new kid on the block, but they've been around for about 10 years now. The other one is proxy-driven technologies from the security side. So secure web gateways is the classic embodiment. And the last one is a firewall. So the perimeter-based technologies that have been deployed for over 20 years. So when you look at these three markets and sum them up over the course of the last several years, they're on track to probably about nearly $15 billion by 2024. Now, I get asked, are these markets going to combine into one gigantic SASE market? And what I tell people is no. When you think about your perimeter-based technologies and the evolution of that perimeter into this modern enterprise edge, it's not going to happen overnight, and not everyone's going to do it. Now, there's a lot of enterprises out there that we talk to that are thinking about SASE, but really are saying, well, I know what I do, and it's not necessarily yet completely broken. So it's going to be a while before I move. So for us, the way we look at SASE is more an evolution of these three markets combining in order to in service of the SASE solution space. And in my analysis that I put out last year, I say that by 2024, we're probably looking at a market opportunity that grows from tens of millions into about a little north of 5 billion. So it's growing it's going to grow very quickly, and it does have some upside potential because, as I pointed out, if you combine firewalls, SD-WAN, and secure webgate technology, you're looking at about $14 billion. So somewhere in that range, and with the rate of adoption being the key marker to how fast this whole market transforms into a sassified end state.
And yes, these are very impressive, valuable numbers. And I think it also brings to mind, what part of the industry is going to be most receptive to adopting a SASE technology or a SASE framework. From your perspective, Mauricio, who do you see as the leading adopters? Who are going to be the people who are going to help drive SASE adoption over the next few years?
That's literally the billion-dollar question, Ron. But and when we're talking about into our in our surveys and talking to the people out there that are on the front in the trenches, so to speak, we see the small to medium enterprises, because if you think about it, those are the guys that are really pressed to solve these tough problems and are looking for that easy button, which SASE is an integrated play, is very well set up to service. Larger enterprises eventually will embrace it, but you've got to consider that they've got legacy institutional hierarchies, best of breed for firewalls, best of breed for networking and SD-WAN, best of breed for security operations. So those guys that we foresee are going to take a little longer. But in our conversations, we see that the silos are breaking down, and they're talking to one another and saying, "Hey, we got to break this down and service our needs with a holistic." So eventually, those guys will come around, but it's definitely the small to medium enterprise that are going to lead the charge.
Yes, excellent insight, and I think that will definitely help with the sales and marketing prioritization of the organizations out there that are addressing the SASE market. And I think it's also valuable to note the dichotomy that you noted, Mauricio, in terms of there's a cloud aspect, there's a security aspect, and then there's the SD-WAN aspect. And in each of these different areas, there can be characterized an approach to the SASE market. And from my perspective, the cloud approach is clearly advocating a cloud-first implementation. And that is enabling an enterprise-wide cloud strategy that includes the migration of workloads to the cloud, and also enabling the scaling of new operating models, and also, very importantly, that access to multi-cloud implementations that will become increasingly important, not just for the smaller businesses, but also further out for the large enterprises. And I see organizations such as Zscaler and VMware as proponents of what can be characterized as a cloud-first approach by simply offering gateway as a service or firewall as a service that allows that control point to any cloud based on the business policies of the customer and taking advantage of these purpose-built cloud capabilities. In addition, I view the security approach as emphasizing the protection of distributed users and applications against internal and external threats from all levels, and that includes the network, application, the data, and the user levels. And that's very important in today's work from home models, as clearly this is well suited for addressing the work from anywhere or work from home models that are prevailing today because mostly of the global pandemic. And Mauricio, from your perspective, when you're looking at, say, SD-WAN vendors who are approaching the market, how do you see them being able to compete and meet the needs of SASE demands out there?
Thanks for the question, Rod. That's actually very curious you're asked. Just yesterday, we were interviewing and getting a briefing from an SD-WAN vendor, and what they told us is that there is no really SD-WAN market per se, because in order to compete in today's SD-WAN market, you got to offer security. You got to offer the capabilities that you outlined. And so really for them, they've already become a player in the SASE space. And so they're leveraging their knowledge about how to do cloud-based networking. So this particular vendor already had a cloud-based SD-WAN overlay that they sell to their customers, and they've been layering on top security capabilities like the ones he's just enumerated. And so we see that as being a common general phenomenon across a number of SD-WAN players who see that in order to remain relevant in the conversation, they're starting to layer on a significant amount of security and creating those partnerships wherever if they don't have that security pedigree, to be able to service the emerging need to their clients.
And I think for me, the one key takeaway from our discussion is bet on sassy. And for you, Mauricio, what is like the one big takeaway for the folks out there to take away about sassy?
Well, I go back to what I said at the beginning: is that we got to be careful with this shiny chrome, but there's something here, and it's not necessarily going to be a sprint where you're going to go to the shelf and grab your favorite SASE product and deploy it overnight. It's really a journey. It's reinventing and transforming a number of layers in the IT organization, and so people need to embrace that mentality that they're not going to get to an end state overnight. Rather, it's going to be a conversation that probably already started last year with the pandemic, and now that people are thinking, what's the post-pandemic normal? It's the perfect opportunity to be able to think, so what is my network and IT and security architecture going to look like for the next 10 years? So SASE should be a top consideration.
Excellent point. We definitely have to factor in the pragmatic aspects and look at it across the board. And on that note, and on this overall positive perspective on SASE, I say thank you, everybody, and have a great day.